Hey, hello everyone. This is Philip Martin, and this is on film for May 24th. Is that right? Yeah, May 22nd. May 22nd. That means that the year is almost half over. And we've been, that's 10 weeks. 10 weeks in lockdown here. Which means, I haven't been, this is the longest that I've been out of a movie theater since I was a child, a little child, Yeah, I mean, that's pretty amazing. This is Audi. Audi is here because she walked up here with me when I came into the studio, and because some of you have actually asked about the dogs and how they're getting along. I tried to get Paris. I actually asked Paris to come up here with me. She wouldn't do it. Paris, as you may know, has on occasion reviewed films for us, and she's the one that gives the little pink ponies when she's like that. She doesn't comply with our really Byzantine grading system, which I will try to explain in a minute. Anyway, what we've got this week is we've got pretty good movie if it's your kind of movie. The Trip to Greece, which is the fourth in the Michael Winterbottom, Rob Brydon, Steve Coogan trip movies, which started out as a BBC series about a fictionalized version of Brydon and Coogan going around the northern England's Lake District and eating in restaurants and trying to impress each other and take each other down, having sparkling conversations. It is a fiction film, but it's based on these two guys' personalities and their relationship, which are heightened for the film. So it's really kind of a fake. It's not a documentary, okay? And that takes some of the fun out of it, really, because I would think that it would be better if he just came in and turned on the camera and these guys acted like this. But they are. Hey, Audi, come here, sweetie. Come here, sweetie. Come here. Come here. Come here. All right, get on camera. Come on. Come on, baby. All right. Audi. Okay, here we have Audi. Audi will stay here for a minute because she's a very good girl. Audi gets scared sometimes during storms, and she'll come up here and she'll hide back here. There's a little, I don't know if you can, yeah, you can kind of see it. There's a little cranny back there. There's a little place where she can crawl. She gets back there and she hides during the storms, but she's a good girl. And she's doing fine. Paris and Devlin are doing fine. Everybody's doing fine through this. We're doing all right. We're not getting on each other's nerves. We are doing really well. We're doing Google Hangout tonight. Karen is with her book club. So there you go. She totally got me off of what I was talking about, Addie. Anyway, we're talking, I think, about The Trip to Greece, which comedy's a funny thing. It's a divisive thing. And you need to understand, I think, that just because you find something funny or you don't find something funny, that does not define whether it's funny or not. Everybody mixes the movie in their own head, and you're the final collaborator with the director and the actors and all that. And I am very amused by the Trip movies. On the other hand, we were watching the very first one in 2009, 10 years ago, which is another weird thing. This is like one of those Richard Linklater projects that goes on and on and on. It's like, this is the fourth and final one there. They say it's the final one. I'll believe it's the final one when Joel Schumacher shows up to direct the next one. But they say it's the final one. And you've seen these guys for 10 years, and it actually started back in 2005 with a movie that I don't believe played in Arkansas because I couldn't find my review of it. I mean, I would have reviewed it had it actually open here, called Tristan Shandy, A Cock and Bull Story, which, if you know Tristan Shandy, you know it's one of those books that is allegedly unfilmable, and it really is kind of unfilmable. And basically, it's a movie about these characters, Rob Brydon and Steve Coogan, making this unfilmable movie and talking about it, life and literature throughout the movie. And it's sort of the template for the trip movies. The trip movies are, in a way, much less ambitious, in that they just put them in these fictional things where they're touring around, eating in and talking in restaurants. But if you go back and find Tristram Shandy, A Cock and Bull Story, you'll see the template for these movies there. Okay. We were watching, the very first trip, and I think it was, I think I had a screener of it, though I didn't review it. I'm pretty sure I didn't review it. And I'm sitting there watching it with Karen, and we watched maybe a half hour, 45 minutes. And she just looks at me, as she does a lot of the times. And she turns and goes, "This isn't good." And so I turned it off. Or we watched something else. And I went back later and watched it, and I was sort of amused by it. I mean, I'm the kind of person, you don't want me in your stand-up audience if you're a comedian, because I'm the kind of person who, more often than not, goes, when I hear something funny, I think to myself, I go, now that's funny. Rather than, laughing like a normal human being. Is my camera slipping down? Maybe. Anyway, we'll just ignore that for now. Yes, ignore it. Don't touch the camera. That's one of the things that you need to get over. Don't touch the camera. Don't touch your face. Anyway, so I kind of like the trip, but my fandom is very mild. It's so mild that we've never gone back and actually watched the BBC TV series from which these movies are called, because they film like these. They make these 6-episode, 30-minute long series out of them. So it's like there's been 4 seasons, and you can find the first 3 seasons on Netflix, I believe. But it's sort of like, I bet it's better that way. I bet it's better in 30-minute increments, number one, plus you get more of it. And so, since I like it, I probably would like that better, but it's not that I like it so much I've ever sought that out. So, here we are. And if you haven't seen the first 3 installments of this film, or the first 3, the trip to Spain, the trip to Rome, and the trip to Italy, and the trip to Spain. If you haven't seen those 3, I'm not sure that you're going to catch on to the dynamic between these actors and, just the whole premise of the thing. It's going to strike you, maybe as it struck Karen, as just these, kind of twitty Brits, taking the piss out of each other and eating in fine restaurants that you can't afford to go to. And now, when we're all stuck at home, do you want to watch a movie about, going through the Grecian countryside? Maybe you do. I do. But it also seems a little bit... I can see how somebody would take it as slight, and somebody who would take it as self-indulgent, and all that. So, here we are. The point of writing a review is not to yay or nay it. It's really not. The point of writing a review is to say something interesting that might be true. And you do that by having, one hopes, a vast reservoir of knowledge about film, about acting, and how these people have, the work they've done before, and the world at large, and you talk about how everything sort of works together or doesn't work together, how things fit, don't fit. The shadows and the ghost that haunt these productions. You don't ever have to say, this is good, this is bad, this is better, this is worse, this is superlative, this is superfluous. You don't ever have to get into this whole game of making it a competition, because it's not. Every movie deserves a chance to say what it's trying to say. And I think you judge them on how well they communicate what they're trying to communicate. Silly movies can be just as successful as serious movies. If you're watching and you're engaged, at some level the things worked. So if you're watching and you're not engaged, well then you might also think about what went wrong. Why didn't it? So I'm not the consumer guide to movies. We're not trying to be that. We give grades, but we're subversive about it. Don't tell anybody. But what we're trying to do with the grades is satisfy certain conventions and expectations. They told me I couldn't have a movie section if I didn't have some sort of grading scoring system. So we started off with the A, B, C, D. Everybody understands that. That's fine. But it's not really, I wasn't really satisfied with that. So I don't know, maybe 15, maybe 18 years ago, we modified that. And now it's based, and it's not that esoteric, but it's funny. It's based on Robert Palmer's system that he rates wines by. And basically, 85 is your average, perfectly fine movie. You would drink this movie. You might not remember this movie, but you would, you'd consume it. Anything above that, there's something about it that's a little bit more memorable or special. It's well crafted. There's a really good performance, whatever. And if there's more than one of these things add up gradually. And you can get all the way up to 90. And 90 is a really, really good grade. It's probably one of the best movies you're going to see all year. Or one of the best movies we saw all year. And if you get above 90, well, then you've got a classic. You've got something that, is going to be around for a while. That is going to be talked about. It's part of the culture for a while. Something like Parasite, something like Get Out, maybe not one of the greatest movies of all time because we don't know what those are. I mean, I think you have to have decades before you can decide something like that. I mean, right now I'm happy saying Apocalypse Now is, a great film, one of the great films of my lifetime, one of the, but I'm not really willing to say about anything I've seen in the last 10 years. We'll see. We'll see how it works. But don't take it that seriously. I mean, because there are objectively well-made films that I just don't care for. And there are some really bad movies I really love. Getting hung up on the numbers is a trap, and you shouldn't do it. And we always say that. I don't want you to look at the ratings and say everything over 85 I'm going to go see, everything under 85 I'm not going to go see. I'm going to rent these 86s and 87s. No. Read the review, because the reviewer trying to give you a sense of what the film is like. We're not necessarily trying to recommend the film or not recommend the film. We're trying to say something interesting that may be true about the film. And, you're a big kid. You can figure it out. If you want to go see it or don't go see it. It's not my job to sell you a movie. It's not my job to keep you away from a movie. It's my job to produce interesting copy that people want to read for a newspaper that is now largely a digital product, So we're evolving. But we have standards, and we want to, like I said, we want to keep you guys informed on what we're doing, too. A few other things I wanted to touch on. I wanted to touch on this, the idea, these ACS, the Arkansas Cinema Society drive-in things, which sound like really good ideas. I imagine that this one that's on Saturday is already sold out because it's actually a rescheduling of the one that was supposed to run last Saturday that did get rained out. Now, as I understand it, they're just putting up a big sheet in the parking lot. That's a great thing. I don't know what the sound's like. I don't know how it's going to all work out. I know Adam Fawcett is actually doing a concert there at the same place in this church parking lot on Windsong Drive in North Little Rock, which is on the other side of 430. It's west of 430. I think, if you know where Wild River Country is, it's on the other side of 430 on the west side of that. But look, Google Map it or whatever. Don't take my advice on how to get there. And please contact this Film Society before you do that. But, we'll talk about that on the radio on Friday, because 1037 The Buzz have to talk about them on this thing because we want to get that brand awareness out there. We want to do that. Yeah, so those are great ideas. I'm glad to see that. I'm glad to see people are doing things like that. I mean, I have a neighbor who's talking about, in fact, I think she ordered it from Amazon, about one of those inflatable screens, and we're going to put it out in the common area here at our place and have all the neighbors come around and sit on their porches. Well, we can sit on our porch, and she can sit on her porch. The other people have to bring lawn chairs and sit out there and watch a movie. And I've got plenty of movies. I've opened up my library to them, so they can do that if they want. I think that one of the hard things about this pandemic is that usually these things bring us together. Usually hard times bring us together. I mean, there's always a few looters and, people exploiting, but, remember after 9/11, if you remember after 9/11, there was a few weeks of really good feeling because even though it was scary, even though we were hurt, we were together. We were in this together. But in this particular one, we can't be together. We have to be behind our screens. Everybody's behind their screen now. I'm behind my screen and I'm talking to you. And this is a deliberate thing we're doing here. We think that there's some value in reaching out and trying to communicate with people this way, rather than just writing things down and having you read them, which is my preferred way of contacting you. Excuse me, honey. Sorry, squeezed her. But literally putting a face and a voice behind this stuff seems to be something that we can do now, and we ought to do. We've got the technology, and we don't have, it's no substitute for getting out and meeting people, but it is a way of communicating. It's a better way of communicating than not trying. So that's, they told me that we had a seminar on these things earlier last week, and they said, well, most of these should probably be around 5 minutes long. We're going a little over 5 minutes on these, and please, if you like them, give me some sort of encouragement, because I don't get to make all the decisions all the time about how we do things. I do think this is can you hear those beeps when they go off? That's email coming in. Sorry if you can hear them, and if you can't hear them, just ignore me. I'm a crazy person. But anyway, so it really does help. Your feedback really does help, because then we can show people that, hey, people did respond to this. And if you don't respond to it, well, maybe that's okay too, because then maybe we'll go to another way and do another thing. But we've done really well, I think, writing about the movies these last 21 years. I think the movie style section has proved its worth, and I want it to continue, but there's no guarantee that everything's going to continue. There's no guarantee the Arkansas Democrat Gazette's going to continue in perpetuity. Certainly, I worry about my job all the time. Maybe that's ridiculous, but I do. So there's no guarantee that we're going to be around. So let's appreciate it if we do appreciate it. So if you do like it, it would help to let people know that you like it. You can, get on my Facebook page. You can't see my Twitter handle because the camera fell down as we started recording this. But you can see Audi. So it's at Borkdog, BORKDOG. That's my Twitter handle. And I need Twitter followers because nobody follows me on Twitter. No, it's sad. Yeah, it's like John Brummett should peel off about 2,000 followers and give them to me, just because, But what can I do? It's a meritocracy out there in the social media world, I guess. Anyway, I think we covered everything we were supposed to cover. I would say that, I'm going to start talking a lot about movies that don't get in the newspaper because I'm seeing a lot of them. And we've still got limited space, even though we're a digital product. Now, maybe someday we won't be a limited space. Maybe I'll start adding pages on the digital side that aren't in the physical paper. But right now, we're constrained to that. And also, my time is not. I can't write about everything I watch. I really can't. I'm going to write about Bosch because we have a interview with Michael Connolly, the creator of Harry Bosch, that I think is running next week unless something fell through and it is running this week. Because I'm doing this on Tuesday. You're watching it on Friday or later, but I'm doing it on Tuesday. So, hello, people of the future. Anyway, and if you've got ideas about how we should do things, let me know. We'll try to do them. I mean, within reason. We're trying to write reviews and do that. But, like I said, I'm going to start talking a little bit more about things I've seen that aren't in the newspaper. There's a movie called End of Sentence that I was hoping so much it would be good. John Hawkes, one of my favorite actors, is in it, and he's in it with Logan Lerman. It turned out to be your pretty much 83. Pretty much a slightly below average indie picture that has John Hawkes in it, who is wonderful, and I love him. Just about anything he does. I think acting is a weird thing, and I think that, and I was talking about this on the radio, or I started talking about it on the radio. I don't remember what I talk about on the radio and what I just think about I'm going to talk about on the radio. But Roger Scott, who's 1037 The Buzz, is a really good actor, and he's in Antiquities, which is the movie that they're showing at the ACS thing that's probably sold out on Saturday night. Okay? And I was saying, it's like Roger is a really good actor, but a lot of people who probably do radio would be pretty good actors because they're in the habit of behaving unselfconsciously when people are listening to them. And if you're in the habit, or if you're able to behave unselfconsciously, to act unselfconsciously, when people are paying attention to you, then you can probably act. You can get better at it. And some actors are better than others. But it's basically a binary thing. It's either you can act, and that you can act unselfconsciously while being watched, or you can't act, and that the fact that somebody's watching you makes you freeze up or tense up or be stilted in some way. And I don't know that there's anything you can do about that. It's sort of like being tone deaf or not being able to sing. If you can't sing, you can't sing. You can get better. God knows you can get better. And you can learn to do things better. But if you have an absolute, inability to determine relative pitch, then you can't do it. And it's not your fault. It's not that you're stupid or it's just that you don't happen to be gifted in that area, But Roger's a really good actor. But like I said, I think that, some of us can act and some of us can't. It's just one of those things. Some of us, the camera really loves. And some of us just look funny on camera. Some of us just look funny on camera. I mean, some of us don't have the big heads, in the right proportions. It's just the way it is. It's not... It shouldn't have anything to do with your self-worth. That's all I'm trying to say. But anyway, Roger Scott's a really good actor. antiquity. I would cast Roger Scott in a serious role next. I mean, really, I really would if I had a movie I was working on, because I wouldn't write no comedy because that's hard. But if I was writing a movie and making a movie, which I have no desire to do, I would cast Roger Scott in it because I think he's a good actor. There's a lot of guys I think are good actors, but Roger's one of the local guys I would cast. You know. Anyway, now I'm in trouble with everybody who's not Roger Scott, and I probably missed some things that I wrote down to talk about. And in an earlier version of this, which I scrapped, I actually showed you some of the trip to Greece on here, which I thought better of that. Maybe I shouldn't, even though this is the way I watch movies now, on this iPad usually. And I haven't been to a movie in 70 days, more than 70 days, in 10 weeks. So if you go to the movies this weekend, or if you've been already, if you've been to Riverdale or to one of the other theaters in Arkansas that's open, let me know what it was like. I mean, send me an email, pmartin@adgnewsroom.com. Send me a direct message on Twitter, @BorkDog. Hit me up on Facebook, which you can find me on Facebook. It's not hard. Or something, you know, because I'd really like to know what the theaters are like now and how the experience is. Because I won't be going back at least until maybe Sunday. Maybe I'll go Sunday. But we'll see you next week. Because we're going to keep doing these things until they tell me I can't do them. Which maybe we won't see you next week. But we'll try to see you next week. So anyway, goodbye. Goodbye from Audi. Who's a good girl?